Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. My name is KJ, and I am the host, and today is my spoiler review for the new FX series, which is available now on FX channels and Disney/Hulu. A love story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, episode 5, spoiler review. If you have not seen this show, please pause this, but before you go, could you hit the thumbs up button, aka the like button? That would help my YouTube channel out, and I truly appreciate that. Come back and let me know what you think about episode 5, Love Story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette in the comments below. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned? Now, let's get into it. This episode starts off with John and Carolyn with their new dog named Friday, and I don't know, this was like a slap in the face to John F. Kennedy Jr.'s girlfriend in the past. Like, I don't know if the shows did it, and I'm not sure if this scene actually went down as far as him getting a new dog. And I don't know if they felt that way in real life, the real people of this situation, because in this episode, this shows like John F. Kennedy Jr. has learned from his mistakes from his past. And we see him living together at an apartment studio type. And, I don't even know if this dog knows that, about Hank the dog who got hit by the taxi cab. I'm just not sure. But I chuckle a little bit about that because, again, like, from this scene, it just seems like a slap to the face to John F. Kennedy's ex-girlfriend, and I'm not sure if the show did that on purpose or not, but I get the point. They're trying to show, like, look, he's grown, he's matured, and they're still trying to figure out the relationship because, in this point, too, Carolyn is still not ready to be in the spotlight, and I don't think she really wants to because they're really keeping the relationship very, very private, and so nobody really knows. And she just wants to do her job, like a regular day, And while John's getting ready to launch George, the magazine that he did, and the one issue is they need more content, and we're seeing John not really prioritize this magazine, and this is where, again, he still needs to mature in the business and balance work, relationship, and life in general. But him going off to vacation with his girlfriend, Carolyn, to meet his family, obviously upset the business partner because, he's really trying and he's putting all this hard work and dedication in. He's stressing out, and John's way too chill. And again, this is where how they're building up the drama of like a soap opera type. And we see through this episode, it's two worlds are about to be clashing. And John's world, John F. Kennedy Jr.'s world, is going to be more dominant, obviously, because he's famous. He's obviously a Kennedy. I mean, biggest celebrities in the world, right? Like, can't really top that in that type of sense. That family hangs out with like Michael Jackson, like, and for her to just be a regular employee at Calvin Klein is not gonna stick well. But they're trying, and what I thought about this is this to me from them showing their new life, living together in an apartment with a new dog, to showing the scenes where we see John and his business partner, his company for the magazine called George. I felt like it was a little sloppy, going from one topic to this topic of story. And the reason why I feel like that is I know they're trying to connect their love life and showing, like, here's the positive to this and here's what the negativity is. And they're trying to show at the same time, like, well, John in episode 4, he was like this, but now he's much mature, but he still needs a lot growing up type thing. And they do connect. I just think it wasn't as smooth. It's a little bumpy. And I can see where I have talked to people where they felt like this particular episode, it catches them off guard because it's hard to keep up which way they're going with this. Is this obviously leading up to the famous quote that John F. Kennedy said in a press conference, which we'll get talked about that later as I summarize this. But I see the sloppiness. I see how it can be confusing. And I see that they're just trying to slowly build this up, but it seems too perfect. It seems too lovey-dovey in this moment where I think they really needed to hit more with a harsh reality of the situation. But I understand for entertaining purpose, they were trying to make this entertaining. They were trying to make this funny, laughable, like, oh, that John F. Kennedy Jr. going off to have Carolyn meet his other family members. And I get it. It's like a magical moment, but I get it. So, again, they're trying to set this up, again, like I said, towards a clashing as the people outside of the relationship see the flaws and the problems, but the two people, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, don't see these flaws or problems. It's just like a magical moment between the two. But again, in this episode, life throws them a curveball as Carolyn gets to meet John F. Kennedy's family, and that pressure of being accepted by Mrs. Kennedy is throughout this show. I thought it was kind of funny because Mrs. Kennedy is showing that she's the not alpha male, but she's the alpha. Like, she's very witty. She's got a comment and she's got statements to say, and she's looking down on Carolyn through dinner and stuff. Even called her out about the scarf. At first I thought maybe John F. Kennedy Jr. gave her a hickey, but that wasn't the case. It was just a style of fashion. But she just belittled this woman, especially with like political questions and stuff. Because obviously Carolyn at this point is not very into the politics at this moment like that. She's more of the fashion. And again, John needs to be better at saying, hey, please show some respect. This person cares for me. And I think that's what Carolyn is one issue, is why she may hesitate to even be closer to John because he didn't do that. Or, in this episode too, they had actual, I don't know the actual old photos of the Kennedy, but they're old photos of Kennedy, the actual people. And, just setting up the tone of like, this is a make you or break you moment for Carolyn. And John takes her out on a boat, and they kind of just hang out, and he asked her to marry her, and she felt scared. And she didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. And obviously that upsets John. And throughout this, we see this whole argument, and they obviously they do love each other. And I like how they're showing, like, they not giving up on each other. They're staying close to each other. They want to talk it out, but they're being very cautious what they're trying to say, because it does lead up to a heated argument, right? And this caused too that people are more focusing on the fact that Carolyn didn't say yes, and this is taking the attention off the magazine called George, and people within that company are upset at John for that because they put in all that hard work. But that leads up to the famous quote that the actual John F. Kennedy said. They recreate this, and I can't remember the actual is, but they said, he's like, yes, no, not in New Jersey, we're just friends, something like that. And we see that. And one thing too about this is they kind of stopped focusing on Mrs. Kennedy and Carolyn. Like, does she approve her or not? Like, I know she's very overprotective for John F. Kennedy Jr., but they never really show. They kind of tease the idea of, like, she's actually rooting for Carolyn, that she actually likes her, but they never really focus on that because they obviously wanted to put the scene where they recreated another scene where they're Carolyn and John are arguing at a park, and photographers took pictures of it, and I do believe that's an actual thing. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that, but I think that's an accurate historical moment between the actual John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette. But I understand this episode really wanted to make sure they got to that scene, and so they kind of just glazed over with the family drama, the family drama of the Kennedy. So I just wondering, did they cut a huge chunk out of that scene just to keep that? Because that scene was much longer, and that's where we see the two kind of kiss and make up, and then Carolyn finally says, yes, I'll marry you type thing. But they do love each other, and obviously this is how that episode ends. So to me, this wasn't like the better episodes out of 5 so far. And I think what it is too, they should have just had, instead of doing 9, do a 10th episode, so where you can have a whole episode where Carolyn is trying to get approved by the Kennedy family, have their blessing, watch them get along. Like, some of the girls there, were kind of like really mean to her because she said a quote like them, train them, dump them, something like that. And they said that around Mrs. Kennedy. Now, she wasn't playing around because she's old school. You ain't supposed to do that to your man, right? Like, but again, this is in a different year too. It's funny that is to say, but they were really mean. But they never really had any scenes where maybe the girls apologize or any of the family members apologize, to her. We know that John F. Kennedy's sister likes her because she didn't automatically say yes to John. But John, just like most guys, they can't work with, I don't know, let me think about it type stuff. Most guys like John, it's either they need a straightforward answer, yes or no, because most guys can work with that, obviously. And that's the type of guy he is. I'm not saying every guy, but that's the type of person he is. And so, because we see Carolyn revisit her ex, Michael, and they kind of meet up, and that's the advice. He kind of gave her advice and just kind of say like, wow, like even he couldn't get you to commit to a relationship. So they pretty much, Carolyn just needs to put her guards down. But I think the one issue about this episode is they have two different topic of stories. There's Carolyn who needs to work on herself and just learn to trust John, but then we never see her overcome the Kennedy family. Like, do the males like her? Do the cousins like her? What? We don't even know. So I'm hoping in episode 6 that would get answered. But I felt like this would have been the episode. If she was going to meet the family, that should have been the whole main focus. I think the rest were like her finally saying yes to the marriage proposal should have been in the next episode, in my opinion. So to me, this episode was a little bit sloppy. And it's not bad. So, again, with Mrs. Kennedy, I think she should have been the main vocal character for this, the main antagonism. And they should have had scenes where they resolved the issue, where Mrs. Kennedy and Carolyn Bessette come to a mutual understanding or get to know each other. And I think those scenes were more important to have in this episode. So, to me, this was good. This was great. It had the love in there. You seem like you're watching two young people in this time fall in love, just trying to figure out life, while big things are happening, like a magazine called George that's run by John F. Kennedy Jr. and his business partner in this. And, I wish they showed more of that hard work and what that means for him. But again, they wanted to focus and recreate things that John F. Kennedy Jr. actually said and did, like the press conference. That was a real thing, and they even said exactly his quote because of the thing of saying he had to say like, no, I didn't really ask her to marry me type thing, and then he said his quote, and they wanted to actually put that. So I believe that scene cut out a lot of scenes of the family visit, the family dinner, and so much other. So that's why I see a little sloppiness in it, but I guess it's not too bad of a notice. But that's just something I really thought about, and that's what I realized out of it. So, did I like this episode overall? Yes. Did I like watching John and Carolyn have that moment in the park? Like, yes, that was my favorite moment, because to me, they were arguing and they were showing that they were upset at each other, but they never, to me, what it shows in a relationship, you don't insult somebody and say something mean about them, like, you're dumb type thing, like, or just belittle you. They didn't do that. They showed like they care about each other, and they're like, no, we're not giving up. We're not giving up. This is our life now, thing. And they were just both scared in their own way. I like that. That was a really cool, very emotional, powerful scene, and great dialogue, great acting between the two actor and actresses who portray these two people. And so I really enjoyed that. So definitely good, but again, a little sloppiness, a little bumpy with the story. So if I had to give this a 1 out of 10, I'm going to definitely give this a 5. It was good. It was great. Just It's just those things to me were too noticeable about switching stories, switching topics, switching emotion like that, switching challenges in a relationship. So that's my only thing, and I understand they really wanted to showcase that Carolyn was also just scared, feeling pressure, like she's gonna be famous. They're only gonna know her as John F. Kennedy's girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever, boo, right? So I get that too, but I think again it's a 5, 1 out of 10. It's a 5. And hopefully the next episode kind of makes up for what this was slacking in. So that's my review, y'all. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talking Entertainment Official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you guys, and peace out.